Hey everyone, Fox from modelmaking.guru here, and welcome to part 6 of our video of the Trumpeter 135th Striker in the style of Drebin Stryker from Metal Gear Solid 4 for emodels.co.uk. Welcome to part 6 of our build. Not much has happened with the actual model itself. I'm still waiting on the decals, so I've done a couple of little touch-up areas. So we're not going to focus on this today at all, so this can go away now. You may notice it's a bit shiny, that's just a gloss coat on there for when I do decals and weathering. What we're going to do today is we're going to see if we can cobble together the diorama. And I'm going to do a really simple diorama. I'm not going to go too overboard on it. I'm going to keep it really simple so that if you're building along or if you want to try something the same yourself, you can do. What I've acquired is a picture frame, bog standard A4 picture frame. I actually got this from B&M for about £2. Taken the backing and the glass out. So we've got a picture frame. And I also got myself some foam core board. Let me just grab it. If I can find it. This is standard foam core board. It's basically construction card with foam in the middle, so it's nice and tough and it can be cut and shaped. My plan is to use this as a base, build 2 walls and stick some greeblies on, and then we'll get to the painting. So it's not going to be a long episode today. I've said that before, never mind. So what I've done, I've actually pre-done the pieces I want to put together, but I'll show you how to cut and play with the foam core board. Let me just put this somewhere. Let me just get a scrap piece, hang on. So foam core board, dead simple. It's fairly sturdy. You can put grooves into it with any kind of tool and they tend to stay. If you wanted to put some tiling or something on there. And cutting it is really easy. I'll just grab some tools. You will need a metal ruler or straight edge, as my old metalwork teacher used to say, God bless him, and a good sharp knife. And it couldn't be more simple. Now you think it's paper, it's going to be really scrabbly when you cut it, but it's not. Basically a lot of pressure on the ruler to keep it steady so the card doesn't move. Make sure it's a nice sharp blade. Lightly score to get the first line, and again with a bit more pressure. And then one last time, and it doesn't work. Hooray! It usually works. Because you've scored it, you can get the blade in there, and you get a nice straight edge. And that's as complicated as foam core gets. You can cut it into any shapes you want. You can this foam core is not the best for it, but some foam core you can actually sand down. Let's just have a quick go. This one isn't brilliant. Let's find some decent sanding strip. This stuff isn't brilliant, but you can, to a certain degree, you can sand edges. To smooth them off and get a nice round edge. But this stuff isn't, the card's not too thick on this, so it's not brilliant for that. So that's foam core. What I have gone ahead and done in advance, so I took the wooden piece out the bottom of the picture frame. I've basically measured and made 3 pieces. If you can see that, there's a little triangle one there. And that is basically going to be, apart from the base piece, which is A4, the right size, this is going to be my diorama. Now all I've done with these is I've cut them to the size and shape I want. I've taken some spare pieces from various kits. These are all from either the Italeri Truck Shop accessory set, so that, this, these and that, those, or the Tamiya 1/24 scale Rally Pit Crew kit, which is basically just bits and bobs. I'm not really worrying about it too much. I'm not going into too great a detail. I've also used a bit of wire to suggest some wiring. You can see between those little... I've made these are actually toolkit boxes, but I've made them into little junction boxes. Kind of cool. And then we have the A4 board. The good thing with these is these are just stuck on with super glue. Again, like I said last time, I used the glues that eModels very kindly sent me. The Logic glues. Basically stuck them down with a thick glue, a few dots of thick glue, and then ran some of the thin glue around the edges just to set them in place. And when you're doing greeblies, you can do whatever you want. Little pieces. I looked in my collection of bits and bobs to find greeblies, but unfortunately most of the things I have are tank wheels, which don't really work. This is supposed to be like an indoor, in a building or in a car parking bay or something like that. It's like a... I wanted things that suggested like power boxes and... I don't know, it looks like an immersion heater actually. If you're old enough to remember immersion heaters, you might recognise that. So, right, let's crack on with this. Shouldn't take too long. The most of the fun is going to be in painting. As I say, I'm not going too complicated with this. I could spend ages scoring in bricks and stuff, but I don't really want to. I want to keep it nice and simple in case you want to do the same thing. So, where's my base? Where is my base? Base, how low can you go? This is the base. Now on the base you'll see I've just glued, again from the Italeri truck shop kit, I've glued the checkerboard on here, and I've put two little tiny handles, just drilled a couple of little tiny holes, and if you can see that, I'll show you. Where is it? There it is. A couple of little tiny holes, and I've just added in two of the little grab handles from the truck shop kit, just to give it some interesting detail. So now it looks like a kind of, I don't know, little floor panel that might come up, like a bay or something, or a pit, like you might get in a garage. It just gives it something interesting to look at, rather than just a flat floor. So, my plan is, I've cut these walls about 5 inches, I think 5 something. I measured them, I don't do maths. So we're literally going to have a wall here, and we will have a wall here, which you can't see because it's the wrong way around, and then I'll have the little triangle piece is going to go in the corner here, just to give it some stability. And I can just super glue this stuff, so I'm going to do that. This is where it all goes horribly wrong. So all I'm going to do is get my thick super glue. Now you can use things like hot glue guns. I did get a hot glue gun for this, but I couldn't figure out how to get rid of the mess that comes up from the side of it, so I decided not to bother. Oh, I've also cunningly designed it. You can't see, but I've measured round the edge in pencil, just a few millimetres, so that gives me some clearance from the frame to the card, because the plan is we'll simply go into the frame, thus, and the walls will go on top. And the reason I've done that is so that I can do all this, build the diorama and paint it, and then put the frame on later, so I don't have to do all complex masking on the frame. And I'll repaint this frame, I won't have it just bare simple wood. So that's the plan. Whether it actually comes out that way, who can say. So all I'm going to do, get myself some thick cyanoacrylate glue, and I'm wearing gloves by the way today because I spent Saturday sanding a Mark 1 Golf, a real Mark 1 Golf, sanding rusty metalwork and paint off, so my fingernails are really minging, so I didn't want to subject you to that because it's really hard to get rust off your hand for a couple of days. So this is the bottom. All I'm going to do is simply get the glue on here. Now this is the thick glue, I don't want it to run everywhere. Get the glue on the bottom. It won't be perfect, but I don't need perfection. And simply, I've made a little mark to line it up to, which I've just missed. Simply attach it, but give it a few seconds just to settle down. Now this should be really simple. I know you can't see this now, but this should be really straightforward and simple. However, in the best tradition of things, these things are rarely straightforward and simple. So that's the wall on. Now the way I've designed this other wall is it's going to fit flush with this one. So it goes, so it's still a bit It's there, but it needs the structure of the other wall. This wall's going to fit flush, like that. That will start to give it strength. So, let's get this puppy glued on. So it's going to go... Now I need to do this so I can see it, so unfortunately you're going to see the back end of it. Nearly swore then. Oh dear. So I'm going to need to glue this wall and the base. So let's glue that wall. These super glues are quite handy. The little dispenser nozzle is quite nice. The thin one's a bit of a nightmare. It could do with a thinner nozzle. But yeah, if my hand's shaking, it's because I'm having to squeeze the bottle. Squeeze the bottle, wake the glue. So this should just go in, oops, there like that. Should. Push that together. You get a few seconds of movability. Not much, but you get a few. Hope you can see this. That should start to stick. And what I get is this nice, not particularly smooth, but reasonably smooth edge here. This is just going to be painted black with the back of the diorama, so I'm not really too bothered. It's just the outside edge. And then we have our little triangular piece, which is just going to sit, let me just make sure you can see all this, just going to sit in, probably can't, in here, like a brace, just to give it some support. So I should do that bit now. Because when you're using things like foam core for walls and things, I mean, I've not made that many dioramas, I'll be honest with you. I tend to just make the model and leave the diorama. I usually like display stands and so on, but I thought for this one I'd do a diorama and dive in and see what happens. And then we have the brace in place. Brace in place! Okay, so that should stick quite nicely. I'm just going to... Oh, my fingers are sticking together now. It's a problem wearing rubber gloves and super glue. I would recommend wearing gloves when you're using super glue anyway. Just because when you stick it to your finger, or you stick your finger to your face, or your face to your elbow, or something like that, which you will do. If you get it off, if you pull your fingers apart quickly, you just get a crusty bit which comes off eventually. If you take too long and then you pull it, you can actually hurt your skin. So just be careful with the super glue. Done. How complicated was that? How totally complicated was that? That was just easy peasy. What I'll do now is I'm going to get the thin glue. I just want to reinforce those edges. I'm going to do it on the back where you're not normally going to see it. Now this thin glue is super thin, so you can actually just, and I hope you can see this, you can actually just run it down. I'm not even squeezing the bottle for this. It'll just run down that seam and give it even more strength. I'll do some down here. Just a little bit, just to get it to go in. I'm really just tilting it, I'm not actually squeezing the bottle at all. I might run it on the inside as well, just to be safe. Don't know if you can see this bit at all. But because it goes into the seam, it's not going to dribble out and make lots of patches and splotches everywhere, which is good. I'm going to do it underneath here, where it's harder to see it. Again, just in case, because it can pool, it can puddle, because it's thin. Dries very quickly. Run some along the floor. I can see it. You can't see it on camera, but I can see like a shiny line going down as it runs down the joint. Oops. There we go. Don't know if you saw that running down. So that should hopefully now be fairly stable. Now, as I said with the foam core, it is basically construction cards stuck on with the foam in the middle. So I'm hoping it will take primers and paints okay. I'll probably end up selling this model, and I wouldn't like to try and pack and ship this, so it's the kind of thing that it'll be fairly sturdy, but if you make it yourself it'll go on your shelf in your display cabinet and you won't be really transporting it around, or if you are, you'll be really careful. If you're making models to sell them, you're going to have to pack this really carefully. If I do sell this, and I probably will, I'll probably make it UK only, so I can actually take it to somebody rather than trust a courier. So let's have a look. Make sure you can see all this. So we have our little diorama built. Dead simple. I did double check the the footage in Metal Gear, and after I got all this, I realised that the building they're in has actually got bricks underneath the plaster, so oops. So I'm really just doing this as a bit of fun. I'm not doing it to be 100% accurate, so I'm not really too bothered. That's it. It's diorama. I need to leave that to cure. Not really much more I can do. If I very carefully grab the model, because I don't want to get super glue on it. Model will go here. Again, it's not quite accurate to the cutscene, but it's near enough. Model will go here. There'll be a Persian rug here. That's how it's going to work. So what I need to do now is give it a few seconds just to dry. Put my knife away so I don't stab myself in the entire face. And with super glue, as I say, do be careful. I have stuck pretty much everything to myself, and myself to myself, on many occasions. So do be careful. Now the plan is, this is just a normal picture frame with the little tabs on the back. So all being well, I should now just, if I can do this, should now just, hang on, should now just fit in perfectly. I'm going to take it out and paint it separately, but that is basically what I'm looking for. I'll just take this out so it doesn't stick itself to anything. Picture frames are really good things to use for dioramas. You can make your own bases out of wood. I've done that before now. I've done pieces of wood and then covered them in modelling clay right over the sides. But for this I wanted walls, and it took me a while to figure out how to build the walls. I wasn't sure what to use, and then I saw this foam core. You can get foam core from various places. I don't know if eModels do sell it. If you do, guys, I really apologise. I don't know if they do. I don't think they do. So you need to get on that. Subtle hint. But I got this from Staples. It's not cheap. I mean, the Staples isn't cheap anyway, but you can get it from most places. You know, most craft stores and things will sell some kind of foam core. Right, so I'm going to leave this to dry for a little while. When we come back, I will have primed it. I may do the base colour off camera, so what we'll do is the actual painting on camera. So I shall leave that to dry for a while. So when we come back, we'll crack on with the painting and other bits. I was thinking about putting, before we do that, I might put some just texture on the floor, like some bits of brick dust and stuff, so that means I have to go in the garden and batter a brick with a hammer. So we might do that, or if not, we'll come back and do the painting. Okay, so back in a minute. And we're back. Okay, right, I've gone outside and I've used rattle cans, so I've not filmed the spray painting of this. But I've basically just done a layer of primer, some flat black in certain areas to put some shadows in, and then a layer of neutral grey to give the base concretey type colour. I took a couple of quick pictures, so here's just pictures of how it came along. Okay, right, now the next step is to give it the painting, as in the painting it would have as a building. What I'm going to do is paint it probably a light grey colour all over, and then put a stripe of blue along the wall, so it's as if they painted it white and blue, or a grey colour and blue. And we're going to have some paint chipping all over to suggest that the paint's peeling. And on the floor as well, because when you go into like a warehouse or something and the floor's painted, often the paint's chipped away. So what we're going to do first is check the focus. First thing we're going to do is do some paint chipping before I put the other paints on. I'm just going to use Humbrol's Mascol, and what I intend to do here is use, I was looking for a piece of sponge but I didn't have one that was rough enough, so I'm going to use this shaving brush instead and see how that comes out. I'll use a cocktail stick and a brush as well, but this is just for speckly patterns and so on. So what I'm going to do is put some Mascol on this little plate, this piece of glass, plastic. Try not to spill it everywhere. And then I shall quite simply make sure it's all in shot. Yep. I shall quite simply apply some liberal splatting. I'll do it on the walls first. Let's just start anywhere. And the reason I'm using this brush is because I want semi-randomness to this. It's supposed to look like the paint on the wall is chipping off. And this stuff stinks, by the way. It's ammonia, so I'm going to paint these things on the walls separately as well. I just want a base colour for now, so we'll get some wear and tear on the walls. I hope you can see this. This is where the paint will have flaked off to reveal the concrete underneath, theoretically. Put it around the floor. It's not a complicated task. Oh god, this stuff really does stink. It's ammonia, so be wary. And I'll do it on the inside here. We'll do it around this device. Ideally I'd use a sponge, but so I didn't have one coarse enough, so we'll just gently liberally apply all this. Again, I don't want it to look too ordered, I want it to look slightly random. Put some around this plating where there'll be lots of traffic. See this, but hopefully you can. Nearly spilt my mask all then if you heard my voice go funny. That would have been stinky. Some on the floor. This is all going to be mixed and blended with weathering anyway, so okay, so that's just some rough patterning. Ooh, that stuff smells. Right, I'm just going to pause the video while I go and rinse this brush out because I can't have it in here all day, so back in a second. And we're back. Okay, right, now I've done that with the shaving brush. I want to do some more bits of chipping here and there now with the liquid mask. I'm going to use a normal brush for this. Let's put my visor on so I can see. So these are just going to be more carefully targeted bits of chipping. I've kind of got loads everywhere, but it doesn't do any harm. I don't want it all to be little flecky pieces. I want big chunks of paint to have come off the wall. Because this is an old building. I'm just trying to be random. Trying to concentrate where paint would actually flake off, which is around edges and corners and things. Might do a big piece down here. There's no real trick to this. It's just go ahead and dub them where you think. Helps if you can, you know, look at, when you're doing weathering, look at things that have weathering on them. You know, go and study old trucks or worn out buildings or anything that might have chipped paint or weathering, or build some of these dotty bits into more chunks. Okay, right, so I've done lots of masking. It looks completely messy, as you can no doubt tell. Just tilt it a bit so you can see. But there's no exact science to be had. It doesn't matter if it looks scruffy, because this is just going to be the chipping. Basically, whatever I paint on top now, when I take this chipping off, it will reveal this grey colour. Now I might end up painting these things a different colour anyway. I'll probably try and paint them the same blue that I'm going to have as the bottom half of the wall. So what I might do first is paint something with, or I might just leave them grey. I'm not sure yet. So I shall now let that dry for a little bit, and I'll go off and spray some light grey over the whole thing, mask it, and then spray the blue underneath. And what I might do again is when I've got the grey on, do some more chipping to then make the white paint appear under the blue. So I shall go and do that. Back in a moment. And we're back. Okay, right, I have sprayed on the coat of Tamiya AS16 from the spray can. I didn't film it because I was doing it outside in the garden, so you wouldn't have been able to see it. Had an issue with the spray can. The plastic wrapping obscured some of the spray flow, so I did get some blobs of paint here and there. But I'm not too fussed because I'm going to be peeling all the mask off anyway, and I'm going to weather it like crazy, so that'll be hidden away. If I have to sand anything down, I will do. So it's got a nice kind of nice colour to it now. Nice kind of semi-concrete, semi-painted colour. I'm not decided whether to repaint these different colours or not. If you play Metal Gear Solid 4, you know there's a lot of it's a very limited palette in some ways in the game. There's not a lot of all different colours on things, so they might actually work like that. Next up will be the blue colour for the walls, as if there's been a stripe painted, a block of blue. I might leave the floor as it is. I'm going to repaint this checker panel because that needs to be a metallic colour, and then heavily weather to suggest dirt and grime.
Otacon, I'm having a problem with the Metal Gear Mark II. The light in here's starting to fade, and the picture's looking a bit, well, crappy.
Really, Snake? That's very strange. The CCD chips in that Mark II are very sensitive. They shouldn't have a problem. Then again, I have handed control of it over to you for these films. You've probably got it wrong. Have you thought about using the infrared vision?
Do you think it will help? I'll give it a try. That's not going to work, Otacon. They're not watching an old movie. I'm not going to be able to show off the colors I'm painting in black and white.
Well, I would normally suggest thermal vision, but I haven't told you how to use that yet. We haven't got to that mission. Wait, there is possibly one solution. You're good to have me as a friend, Snake. I'm such a genius, I think of these things. It's drastic.
Go on.
Have you tried? Now, stick with me. Turning on another light.
Right, okay, quick change of plan. I was going to end the video there because the light was fading, but I've come up with a workaround, so we've got some light. So, base colours down. I quickly masked off this area. This is going to be the blue area, and a little bit on the floor here, just so I want it to be along the edge of the walls. It's not going to be perfect, but again, you tell me a utilitarian building where the paint line is perfectly straight, and I'll give you £5. I won't really. So I will quickly go and paint this. I'm going to do this in the spray booth. I'm not going to film it because the lighting in here is not great, so I can't really film it. So I'll go off and paint this. I'm going to use Tamiya medium blue for this section, and then we'll come back to the next step. So you know what I'm going to say. Back in a moment. Right, okie dokie. I wasn't going to film this bit, but the lighting actually seems might be alright, so we'll give it a go. It's really weird looking at the screen on my phone here where I'm recording. It looks like I'm taking film of an actual room, so that's weird. Anyway, giant hand. Never mind. Anyway, let's crack on. I'm going to be doing this wall and this wall, medium blue. Tamiya medium blue, which is XF18. I love this colour. It's the perfect colour for wiring cockpit canopy frames, just out of interest. So anyway, let's not waffle on, let's get on with it. Apologies for wobbly camera, it's on a little tiny tripod. Okay, let's go. Right, let's go with it. Hang on. Okay, right. You may have noticed that when I first started that, it was a bit spluttery and not very much paint was coming out. There's a very good reason for that. My airbrush just died. So when I'd finished this, it died completely. No longer working. And it's only about 6 months old. So I'll have to get myself a new airbrush. Joy! Anyway. Blue's done. So now I'm just going to take off all the masking. And then the very, very satisfying bit of rubbing off all the mascol. Now you notice I've not got my gloves on now, so they're not minky fingers, it's not dirt, that's rust and paint from that car I was sanding, so apologies, it's not pretty, but you can't really rub the mascol off with rubber gloves. So let's get this masking tape off, and we'll see how we did. I'm not too worried if it's not really nice and neat, because there's lots of weathering to do and things. So let's just get this tape off. This is the fun bit, seeing exactly how much you've screwed it up. Or not, as the case may be, hopefully. This looks a bit scruffy, but this will be painted black when it's finished, so don't worry about that. Right, get this puppy undone. Now I have got some overspray, as you can see there. I was kind of hoping to avoid that, but I didn't. But again, it's not a major problem, because this is going to be painted anyway, and this will be weathered, so it'll hide. If I'd thought about it properly, I would have actually, yeah, there's some paint leak there, you can see. Oh no, that's masking fluid. If I thought about it, I would have masked off the whole base, but it just adds to the... Oh dear. Now here's the problem with foam core. The paper can come off, so I'll have to seal that with something. So that's that. Get this top bit off. I did wonder if the tape would pull the paint off the fiberboard, off the foam core, but it didn't. Very satisfying. Okay, so we've got a nice blue line, looking pretty cool, looking nice and straight and neat. Again, there is some overspray here, but I can live with it because I'm going to weather it anyway, so this will disappear once I've weathered it quite nicely. So now the fun bit, let's get the mascol off. Now I'll speed this up because it'll take me about half an hour, but this is the best bit about model making. This is the funnest part. So, visor on so I can see everything. Just check my focus before we do the next 20 minutes. Ready? And begin. Notice I'm using my finger here. It's low tech, but it works. And now you see the main downside of doing that. All this mess. Let's get this cleaned up and then we'll crack on with the next bit. Right, that's all done. Took me about 20 minutes. And as you can see, it's now messy. Paint and chipping everywhere. I actually forgot one step though. What I was going to do originally was have the blue tape chipping away to reveal, sorry, the blue paint chipping away to reveal this light grey paint underneath, and I completely forgot to mask that off, but not the end of the world. It shows the concrete underneath, so maybe it just looks like they painted the blue and then the grey instead of painting the whole thing grey and then painting blue on top. So that's all done. I was going to paint this silver, like a silver colour, and then weather it down to look grubby, but I think I'll just leave it the way it is actually, and maybe just do some dry brushing of metal on top. Obviously it's not finished. We have weathering and oil shading to do. Normally I'd use lots of washes, but I'm not 100% sure how well washes will work on this foam core, whether they'll just mess it up. So we'll give it a try. I may just have to use oil paints though, so yeah, we'll see. So that's going to do it for this week, or for this episode. When we come back, we'll start doing the weathering and putting some shading and shadowing on it. But that's what I'll do for this week. As always, thanks to eModels for providing the Stryker model that's the basis of this build. Go along to emodels.co.uk. Fantastic online store, I think the best one. And even though I'm biased, I'm not biased, but I am, but I'm not, but I am, but I'm not. Go to emodels.co.uk. Everything you'll need from models to kit, machinery, spray equipment, spray booths, airbrushes, paints, glues, knives, brass rods, anything you need, they'll have it. If they haven't got it, drop them a line, I'm sure they can get it in for you. So it's emodels.co.uk. Go along to their Facebook page as well, facebook.com/eModelsLTD. Great community. They post lots of pictures up of your builds, people's builds that they send in. Drop them an email with some pictures and they'll post it up for you. They also will keep updated on the latest products coming in, new product ranges, new product lines. And they often post up about guides. They have lots of written guides, weathering guides, painting guides, things like that, which are really good. So facebook.com/eModelsLTD. Again, as always, go along to my website as well, modelmaking.guru, that's .guru. I post up pictures of my builds. I have my blog, which I've still not got round to updating because I'm rubbish. Lots of gallery shots and also pieces for sale. And I take commissions as well. So go along to that one. We will catch up with you next time. I'm still waiting for those decals, like I said. I don't know when they're going to turn up. It could be a few weeks from now. So when we come back, we'll carry on with this diorama while we wait for those to arrive. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Go and build something. Go and do something cool. And as always, just have fun with it. Have fun with it. Make something cool. Send the pictures to your models. Show off. But that'll do it for this week. Adios, amoebas.